I grew up in Nashville, Tennessee. My father was an unreconstructed Southerner from the Mississippi Delta, and he was a school teacher in the metro school system in Nashville. And I grew up at a time, mid-late 60s, when it was not uncommon on the way to church to go through a Klan fundraising roadblock. My father thought the Klansmen were ridiculous. We never contributed, but that was a part of my growing up. That's something that I saw. Our schools are segregated, our neighborhoods are segregated. The story of Civil War meant, for me as a youngster growing up, that my grandmother, my father's mother, never celebrated the 4th of July because the South wasn't independent yet. And this was serious stuff. Her grandfather had been in the Confederate Army, and that had been true on both sides of the Durham family. Well, I grew up and I sort of educated, and I went to Duke, which was a big step for me because I had basically not left Davidson County for my whole life to that point. And I met a professor named Lawrence Goodwyn, who is now storied, but at the time was less so. And he had written a book of some renown called The Populist Moment, where he did an in-depth study of what happened around the agrarian populism in the 1880s and 1890s. He was a tough man. Texan, had been a newspaper editor. In the current parlance, very liberal, very left-leaning. And I was this scrubbed little Southern acolyte sitting in my first history course with Larry Goodwyn at Duke. And he was absolutely punishing. He was absolutely punishing. And he stood on its head all of my notions about what the Civil War had been, what the white narrative had been, what the black narrative had been. And he forced me to think anew for really the first time. And it was like a tumbler clicked and a window opened, and I could see clearly for the first time through, I hope, more adult eyes, better eyes, the strains and struggles and issues that made a lot of the pronouncements that my father had delivered completely wrong, and a lot of the things that I had always deemed wrong perfectly sensical. Challenged all my thinking about nearly everything, and it was magnificent and wonderful and awful and hard. But it's what university should be about, I think. And I came away from that truly changed.